and definitely words that ring true. So,
agreed.
Well, hey, Dominic, why don't you go ahead and throw out some addresses so our people can find more great information.
That's it. Just check out my MySpace, myspace.com/Reichstag, REICHSTAG 911. I'll catch y'all next week. Peace.
Peace.
Peace. Hey, Dominic,
yeah.
If you can, I'm going to go ahead and do my rant tonight, and it's going to be some crazy shit. So if you want to stay on and afterwards throw your opinion in, I'd be interested to listen.
Oh, absolutely. I'll hang out.
All right, brother. Awesome. Ghost, did you have anything before I started?
No, that's pretty much what I had. And now, Paranoid's rantings with Paranoid.
All right, I got some crazy shit for you guys tonight. And this is just my own craziness, and you can take it or leave it, but I am going to get into the popular belief among patriots that we should go back to the gold standard. I hear it from everyone from Ron Paul to Alex Jones, even on Glenn Beck and, you know, the controlled patriot movement, as if it's not all controlled. But I hear this repeated over and over and over, and at face value, it seems to make a little bit of sense. But if you look at it from all angles, which is the only way I know how to look at things, it has some very disturbing connotations to it. We'll have to go back about 200 years in history, a little bit more than 200 years maybe, to get to the point of my story. And this is the basic idea of creditors versus debtors. It comes to the Revolutionary War. When we fought the Revolutionary War against Britain, we had to take out a whole lot of money, loans from different countries, France, Paris, even loans from Britain. We even took out loans from Britain to fight against them, as we see over and over throughout history, where one side funds both, or one entity funds both sides so that they win no matter what. This happened along with the Revolutionary War as well. After the Revolutionary War, we signed something called the Peace Treaty of Paris, and I think that was in, like, I can't really remember what year that was in, but that was basically a peace treaty that we signed to basically kind of bring peace to the whole Revolutionary War. And then we signed the United States Constitution. And in the United States Constitution, in Article 6 of the United States Constitution, Clause number 1 says, all debts contracted and engagements entered into before the adaptation of this Constitution shall be as valid against the United States under this Constitution as under the Confederation. So that right there says all of the debts that the United States owed before the ratification of the Constitution, they still owed. So any debts that were incurred during the Revolutionary War were still owed, even though there was a new corporate entity. So this new corporate entity would be taking on the debts of the old 13 colonies. So we started out this, free country, and if anybody knows anything about the monetary system that was in this country around those times, the Confederacy had their own dollars, and they were, basically worthless pieces of paper with no faith behind them, kind of different than the worthless pieces of paper with a little bit of faith behind them that we have nowadays. But we were not doing very well economically. We were struggling, beginning country, and we had a huge amount of debt that we owed to creditors, international creditors around the world that helped pay for our revolution against the British Empire. And we still had to pay those. Well, it came to be that about 2 years after that, a lot of the people that were owed the money from the war started wanting that money back. Now, we didn't have it to pay them back. We were 2 years late on any payments, and it didn't look like we were going to make any forthcoming payments at the time. So the King of England stepped in and bought up almost all of the debt that we had owed. So now the very party that we had just fought to win our political independence from, now we're debtor slaves to this same entity. Now we owe all of this money that we used to fight against him is owed almost solely to him now. And basically, financially, we found ourselves in the same spot that we were economically, 20 years earlier. If you look at it that way, the actual sovereign United States of America, the Republic, only lasted about 7 years. And then from that point forward, we were a debtor nation. If you look at it that way, 2 years after the Constitution was signed and they started coming after us, and we went into the international debt bankruptcy. International bankruptcy cycles last for 70 years, and then every 70 years you have to renegotiate the terms of the bankruptcy. And if you look at the way that the 70 years would have passed, it would have been from 1787, the next one would have been, or from 1789, the next one would have been 1859. And if you look economically, there was a bunch of shakeups in 1859 as well. And then the next cycle after that, when we would have to have renegotiated the debt, would have been 1929. And everybody knows what happened in 1929 because it came around to the international debt was due again, and we didn't have the ability to pay for it. And so they basically created the whole stock market frenzy in order to confiscate a whole bunch of wealth from the people and get it into the hands of the government so that the government could get it into the hands of the creditors. And in 1929 and shortly after 1929, in 1933, with the passing of HJR 192, House Joint Resolution 192, they got rid of all of the gold that was in the hands of the people. So at that bankruptcy turn, at 1929, the resolution for that bankruptcy was to get rid of all the gold that the American people had. And they passed laws making it mandatory that everybody turned over all the gold that they had. Subsequently, from 1929 to 1999, we watched a lot of the gold in this country disappear. We watched, if you look at Fort Knox has not been allowed to be independently audited since the 50s, since Eisenhower was in office. The Fort Knox is the only one that's allowed. They audit themselves every year. There's no one else is allowed to come in and make sure that the gold that is supposed to be in Fort Knox actually is in Fort Knox. And there's a lot of people in the conspiracy movement, or conspiracy theory, I guess, realm, that actually believe, and I'm one of them, that actually believe that there is no gold in Fort Knox anymore. And all of the gold reserves that we are said to have in Fort Knox, that they confiscated from us, the people, with HJR 192 and following public policies, that they took that and they didn't hold on to it for us, that they've actually given it to the creditors. So basically, the scam that we've had played on us since the beginning of fractional reserve banking is these people create money out of nothing. Then they loan it to us, the people, and then we're expected to pay it back plus interest that didn't exist before, and we're supposed to pay it back with real, actual, tangible goods, be it gold, be it labor, be it energy, be it whatever it is. So these creditors, if you want to call them that, international creditors, they have basically set up a system where over the last couple of 100 years, maybe 1,000 years, they've confiscated all of the gold. And if you go and look at who owns the most of the gold in the world, you'll see a lot of very interesting things. America, with Fort Knox, is supposed to be number one, but like I mentioned earlier, America does not prove that Fort Knox has the money or the gold that they say that they actually have, so that's questionable.